Hello everyone, welcome to the SUSHI Onsen AMA, where we host projects that have partnered to the Onsen program to provide them a platform to reach a larger audience. Today I've got Aaron from Alluvium. How are you today?
I'm really good, thanks, Tangle. Thank you for inviting me onto the AMA.
Yeah, awesome. No, I'm really happy to have you here and excited to get into Alluvium. And we've got a great audience here as well. And just want to say thank you everyone for showing up. And throughout this, if you have questions, please raise your hand and we'll be able to get you in there. We'll get a little breakdown from Aaron here and get some information from him first, and then I'll start answering questions from the audience. There's also the AMA text questions that are, if people have any questions there, please just text them there and we can keep an eye on that and get you from there as well. So anyhow, welcome Aaron, and maybe just give us a little bit about who you are, what your background is, and involvement with the project.
Sure. So as you said, my name's Aaron Warwick. I am one of the core contributors. We started the project last year. My background is in computer science and a little bit of mathematics, and I've always been a fan of game design. I've tried to make a bunch of my own personal titles, but last year, Kieran and I got together and we decided that we wanted to try to shake up the crypto space by making our own game. Our ambitions early on weren't quite at the level of what the project is now, so we feel really privileged that we've been able to build such an amazing team. We started off with the idea of making a type of game that we hadn't seen available, which was an RPG collectible game mixed with an auto battler. We didn't see that anywhere online. It felt like a good niche that we could fit into, and it felt like it matched up with the crypto space really, really well. So we decided to start work on it, like I said, last year, and we got such a big response from the community when we announced, and from investors, that it just grew and grew and grew. We're now at the point where we have more than 70 core contributors. We probably are going to hit 100 within a month or so. And I think that's about filling in all of the roles that we feel like we need. We did a public launch about a month and a half ago, or maybe 2 months ago now, and we broke records on the Balancer platform for the largest raise. So we're really fortunate to have such a loyal community that has been with us on this journey almost since the beginning. At every step of the way, we try to look at the project and reassess if there's anything we can do better. And if the answer is yes, we do it, even if it takes extra work and extra headaches. And so this project for me has been utterly amazing. If you'd have told me that I'd be in this position this time last year, I would have been very, very skeptical of it, because at that time we were just starting to get to the point where we could even think about doing something like that. And now we're at the point where we're very significantly into a project that we hope is going to eventually be something that is more than 10 years in the making, with all sorts of different elements built into it. We have very large ambitions, but at the moment we're just humbled that we've had such great response from the community.
Yeah, awesome. So no, that's great to hear. It's really good to hear. So let's just have like a full overview of Illuvium, and what it is, how a little bit about the gameplay and your ideas there. So I'm sure you got a lot from your community here, but it'd be great for anyone that doesn't know, just to know a little bit about it as well.
Yeah. So as I said, we're an RPG collectible auto battler. And what that means is there's one element, which is a fully 3D vast world that the player can explore. There's a number of regions that they can visit throughout the game world. They're all different biomes. They have incredibly different flora and fauna that exist inside of them. And once you get into those regions, you can collect the things inside, you can battle against creatures, you can mine different deposits, and you can harvest various plants. By combining all that stuff together, you can make various items that make your character more powerful, level you up, get you to a place where you can defeat bigger and badder things. And then the auto battler side of things is a competitive PvP arena where players can test themselves against their friends, against other people. We have a ranked system that allows people to climb up the ranks, gain ILV, which is our token, through in rewards. We have committed to releasing over the next 3 years 1 million ILV to the in-game community. It may end up being a little bit more than that, depending on a few other various things. So based on our current price, that looks like a bounty of somewhere around about $7 million US that'll be given out to gamers over the 3-year period. But more important than that, we really have always thought about this game as something that can exist long term. And one of the best ways to have a long term project, in our opinion, is have that PvP human element so that people are constantly coming back. We want to get to the point where we have people playing the ranked arena as streamers that are doing it popularly around the world, and we want to have competitions where people can earn money and all sorts of those things that get people to keep coming back and get them more and more ingrained into their characters, get them bonded with them, so that at some point in the long-term future, there's people out there that look back nostalgically on those Generation 1 Alluvials and say, I need to have that. That's been the goal from the beginning. And we have an art team that is just phenomenal, just utterly phenomenal. And if anyone's seen the art that we've been able to create for the community, we're going to have between 100 and 150 alluvials in the game, and so far we think we've done a very good job of making them iconic and interesting and collectible. With there's an alluvial out there for everyone, and we really feel that people are going to bond with them and treat them as that next step towards the crypto space, getting the legitimacy of AAA titles.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you for that good overline there. And when launch?
So at the moment we're planning on launching towards the end of the year. Mm-hmm. We originally were trying to get a public beta by the end of Q3. We've added a lot of features to the game that have made it better, but at the same time has pushed our estimates a little bit back. We don't have an exact estimate right now, but it might not be by the end of Q3. But at this point, we're more interested in making sure that we get a game that people connect with straight away. And our community has told us over and over again, make sure that we get it right rather than rushing it and putting out something that's substandard. It will be, the initial launch will be a public beta, and we're trying to make it so that public beta is flawless, but not as feature complete as what the game would be, say, a year or two from now, because there are certain things that we want to add into the game over time. In fact, even at launch, from the story perspective of the game, it's always been the plan that the number of regions would start out small and it would expand over time. We have story elements that make that the case, but over time, people will start to understand more about the world that they find themselves on.
Right.
And even though they're not, some people have balked at this a little bit, but I think most people have found it to be interesting. In this game, you do not play as the protagonist. You are a character on this world, and you can try to discover things, but we have an additional storyline that runs a little bit orthogonal to the main gameplay loop that players will get to experience over time. So we try to liken it to a system like, say, Riot Games have with League of Legends, where when you go in and play, you're not playing a particular story element, you're playing a PvP game that allows you to fight against other people. We have that through the auto battler. And then we also additionally have the RPG collectible game, which has more of the story elements. But most of the big parts of the story will be revealed in a way that everyone can experience them communally. And the cool thing about it is those story elements will be released by the players themselves. So they'll be the one that trigger these events. But I don't want people to get like too far into it. We're not making a massively multiplayer game, at least to begin with, that has like this incredibly crazy open world style system of storyline. It's effectively just a narrative that allows you to slowly work out what exactly is happening on this mysterious planet.
All right. Very cool. I'm just going to invite Saint Gypsy here. They've got a question. Saint Gypsy, if you can add yourself to the stage. I think I've invited you to speak. See if that if you can get up here to do that. Saint Gypsy, are you able to? Okay.
Might be a little bit shy.
Oh, maybe that's not working there. That's all right. I do see a question here coming from the text questions. Can you grind only the PvP auto battler without doing the RPG element?
That's a bit of a tough question. You can, but only if you're willing to use our Illuvidex, which is our exchange, to purchase your deck to get you started. So if you're not interested in actually playing the RPG collectible version of the game, that's fine. But to get in and actually play in the PvP element, you have to bring your own deck. And to do that, you would have to purchase at least a few alluvials off the exchange. We originally toyed with the idea of having a completely free set that was just given to everyone, and we decided against that and instead decided to put that free set there, but in the RPG world. So when you start playing the game, you don't have to invest any money at all. You can go directly in and start collecting alluvials. They're not the most powerful ones, but they will teach you all of the details about how the game works, how collecting works, how fusing things together works, all of that sort of stuff, the difference between each of the affinities and classes, all of that gets built in to that free-to-play element. But you would technically have to go out into that world and do that. Now, what I imagine will happen, I can't guarantee it because I don't control the player base, but you can also sell those free-to-play characters on the exchange.
Right.
So they would, I think they'll probably have a very low value, but it depends on how much people value their time, I guess. So it could be the case that someone else goes out into the world and collects all of the free-to-play elements of the game, puts them on the market for a very small fee, and then you could purchase it off that and then go straight into the PvP auto battler. So you don't technically have to, but we have built these things to be merged together quite well. So I would at least ask everyone who's planning on doing that to at least have a go with the world, because we're putting a lot of love into it, and there's no game that they'll find, even in the AAA space, that has our style of graphics. I'm not saying that it's for everybody, but we've got some interesting technologies that our art director and our art team have come up with that you don't see in other projects, and it may make you have a slightly different opinion on whether or not the RPG side of the game is worth pursuing. We said from the start that we wanted to have a game that some people would be willing to just walk around and take screenshots. So we hope we deliver on that.
Yeah, nice. Okay, thank you for all that. We've got another member here looking to chat. I'll invite them. Exclamation point 111. I've added you. Let's see if you can. I've invited you to speak. If you can get up here onto the stage.
It should be a button that appears on the top that you have to accept or decline.
Yeah, is that working for anyone? I'll see if I've done some tests with this recently here and had some people get in. Oh, here we are. Luke, if you can unmute yourself.
What's up, man?
Hey.
What's up?
Hey, there, thanks.
Hi, Luke.
Huh?
Yeah, you've got a question for us?
I got a question, yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead, Luke. Luke, if you've got a question, go ahead, please. Okay. Exclamation point 111. Oh, no, they're gone too. Luke, if you've got a question, please do this, or else we're gonna have to keep moving on here. I'll return you to the audience.
I'm trying to remember what I was thinking about or trying to ask. Hold up. Can you move me back to the stage?
Yeah, I'll move you back to the audience, and then even if you want, just use it into the text questions as well there. Thanks. All right. Okay. Over on we've got another. What percentage of secondary market sales do you expect to come from Alluvium sales, and what percent via shared sales?
I'm not sure. We've not got to the point where there's many reliable pieces of data to work out exactly what it'll be. Obviously, anything that's a secondary market sale comes through at a smaller percentage. We obviously don't take all of that, whereas the shard, I'm assuming when they say shard sales, they're talking about curing, which is the state of taking a shard from unusable to usable, and that gets taken fully to the vault. So I would imagine that it's going to be somewhere around about 50-50, but I could be way off in the end. It's very difficult to predict these things, and it's also going to change over time. Mm-hmm. As time goes on, the illuvials become more difficult to capture, both because the rarity function of the ones that have been captured forces them to be less likely to be found, and also because once they've been captured, we have a difficulty function which makes them more difficult to capture, which forces people to use more premium shards to get it. So I would imagine that over time there's going to be a competing basis between the illuvials, which are going up in value due to the fact that they're harder to get, and then especially after set one finishes, when you won't be able to mint them ever again, and whatever number that there are in the world at that point, it's locked in for good. But then the shard sales means that you might have to use a more premium shard to capture it. So they should be going up roughly together, but I couldn't tell you whether or not one's going to outpace the other. I'll put it past our economist and see if he has an answer for that. At the moment, we're mostly modeling the best ways to deal with, getting these into people's hands at the moment. But it could go either way.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay. Well, I just wanted to move on and say and talk. You guys have used Unreal Engine as what, and you've said that you're talking AAA gaming and the graphics and everything. So how's that been with Unreal? And just talk a little bit about that and the benefits of it.
Sure. So initially, we actually did our first prototype in Unity. And we did that because our technical director is an incredibly impressive Unity dev, but he's an even more impressive server engineer, and that's what we brought him on for, to make sure that the server is absolutely rock solid. So after we started with that, we decided quite early on in the project that to get the art where we wanted it to be, and after we'd started to get on board incredibly talented artists that are mostly used to working with games that use Unreal, we decided to make the switch.
Mm-hmm.
That actually proved more difficult than what we thought, because Unity devs are a little bit more common just purely because that the Unity engine was a little bit more accessible in its early days compared to Unreal. But there was a secondary function with it, which was that there was an announcement of Unreal 5 just after we started, and we thought, we're not going to be able to use it for release, but for future updates, it will be incredibly easy to switch over. And the features that they were planning on putting into Unreal 5, which they've now fully announced as of the last few weeks, which is giving our devs a bit of a kid in a candy store sort of a moment, are perfect for our type of game. And so it's inevitable that at some point we'll switch over, but the problem for us is that we're looking to launch this year, and they probably won't have a stable release of it until next year. So there's a lot of benefits that we would get out of having Unreal 5. But that being said, everything that we've shown to everyone so far has come straight out of Unreal 4. It's an amazing engine. It does everything that we want. And it's interesting because we haven't got the same technology as what Unreal 5 has with their nanite technology and their Lumen technology, but we have some pretty cool things that extend the ability of Unreal 4 to be able to offer not the exact same type of results, but we'll be able to get a very good artistic fidelity in the game, into things like textures. When people go into our world, I'm very confident that they will know that it's Illuvium and not another game, just purely based on the graphics. Like I said, there's a lot of people out there in the world. Our graphics aren't going to be something that everybody finds the best, but I'm absolutely in love with the graphics that we've been able to cook up, especially in the way that we deal with our shaders. So for me personally, I think it's exactly the type of game that I've always wanted to play. And that was the point. We didn't want to make something just because we thought other people might like it. We wanted to make something because we were going to love it. And with all of the contributors that we brought onto the project, we've allowed them as much artistic license as possible to help us craft that style and feel, so that they're all doing the project that they've always dreamed about. And I can't say that that's going to be the case for all of them. And for sure, I'm the biggest jerk in the world to them sometimes, and I definitely work them pretty hard. But at the same time, I do get the impression that for most of them, this is at the very least an exciting project that they're happy to be a part of. At least I hope that's the case.
Oh, that's good. Well, tough love sometimes, and hopefully it'll become a wonderful project here. So no, that's very cool. Going back into the text questions here, we see, what is your favorite alluvial? I heard it was a dragon. Dash is mine.
Wow. So this is a bit of a meme. On Telegram, when we were doing our Balancer public sale, we didn't have quite as many people on the team, and I got assigned to be the person who would look after all of the questions through Telegram. And it was, let's just say, it was a little bit of a jungle at the start. I absolutely love Telegram now, by the way. It is fantastic. I think we've got one of the funniest communities that you'll ever see, and they're super helpful. But one of our characters in the game that's fairly powerful is a pterodactyl named Ramfire. And for whatever reason, someone said, I really like this dragon. And I corrected them and said, it's actually a pterodactyl. And in fact, it's actually a specific genus, a genus called a Rhamphorhynchus. That's where the name Ramfire comes from, if anyone didn't know that. And I'm the sort of person who likes things to be very structured, very logical. Things are what they are, and they're not what they're not. And it's not a dragon, and it got under my skin, and they hit me with it again, and it got under my skin. And to this day, I know that I should just laugh it off, but every time someone mentions that it's a dragon in there, whether they're memeing me or not, it's just it just drives me up the wall. So yeah, they're probably talking about Ramfire, and for the record, Ramfire is not my favorite alluvial, not by a long shot. My favorite alluvial is one that hasn't been released yet, and is, I'll just say, it. Should I give a slight leak? It's a little bit more close to a dragon than Ramfire. But it's not a dragon. It's definitely not a dragon, and there's a reason. There's a reason why it's my favorite one. There's actually a bunch of reasons that I can't go into, because it's not one of the ones that's going to get leaked. Or if it is, then I'll kill whoever leaks it. But it's a special one for me. And there's another one that I like that hasn't gone out yet, because everyone on the team thinks that it's a really, really dumb idea. But at some stage, that one will go in, and that one is definitely not a dragon. But of the released ones, I will say Alfie, the Stage 1 pistol shrimp, is probably my favorite that we've released to the world.
Okay. Well, very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for explaining all of that, and a little bit of the history, a little bit of the Alluvium meme history as well. Meme history and memology that goes behind it. So thank you very much for that.
My God. Will there be a dragon?
All right. We had a couple other questions coming in from the text part here. So let me go back. We went with... we're talking. Will you have to pay the Unreal Engine 5% royalty fee?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I believe we'll have to do that. And someone else put in, are you able to provide any additional details about the different ways the in-game yield ILV can make its way into the hands of the players? Is this primarily for ranked PvP, or can casual PvE players also receive tokens? There's a heavy stacking towards the PvP element at the moment in terms of the design. We still need to put proposals to the community to work out, because this is something that not us distributing, but the protocol is distributing. We would like the community to have a say in it. Since it doesn't have anything to do with the story, these are things that we like to be very much in sync with the community on. So there are events that can be done through PvE. There are achievements that we plan to put into the game that will allow you to gain some of those rewards. The one thing that I'll say with the in-game rewards is that we currently don't plan on giving in-game rewards in ways that could be done using free-to-play accounts. And when I say a free-to-play account, I don't mean that there's a difference between two different accounts, but there needs to be some sort of an outlay in terms of your investment into the game before you would be able to achieve something that would count towards getting these rewards. And we just feel that that is fair, that the people that are getting the play to earn are the people that are also paying for the game. Otherwise, they get exploited quite easily by bots. But at the same time, I hope that the community understands that we've been incredibly open with them in terms of our thought processes around these things. And if they don't like it, they can always put together a proposal that would go to the council, which would allow them to work out, a better way of doing it. Maybe there's something that I haven't seen. I don't claim to be particularly good at doing any of this stuff. I've just tried to look at a lot of different projects and a lot of different games and come up with something that I feel works. If there's something that I feel really strongly about, I'll argue back my case. But at this stage, I would say there'll be a heavy swing towards PvP for the rewards, especially when it comes to things like tournaments, because we feel like that is a big way to get people used to playing the game. But there will also be a lot of casual things. Not everyone's going to want to play the auto battler. So there will be achievements that can be done by going out into the overworld and collecting things. We also have random events that will pop up at various times that can allow us to get a little bit of ILV into the hands of those players, but they'll have to be quick and on their toes to make sure that they get it. I won't leak any details about the actual mechanics of those things, but yeah, there'll be some PvE and a significant amount of PvP is how I would describe it.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. And just kind of touching with this stuff too, is any update on staking? As we're talking about some
staking is very close. So we had an audit that was ready to go ahead earlier last month. We'd actually got all of the processes in place, but then a proposal went through that passed via the council that changed the way those mechanics worked. We predicted it passing, so we started working on the changes even before it got passed, but there was still a lot of unit tests and things like that we had to do to make sure that the contracts were solid. That finished about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago. The audit went through. We have some things based on that audit that we need to clarify and a couple of things that we need to change. And they've been working on that all last week. And I believe they plan on finishing it by the end of this week. At the same time, their staking interfaces done through like the full stack engineers that we've got that need to create like the user interface, the user experience, and all the plumbing that hooks into those contracts. So that is also looking like being done. I don't think by the end of this week, but hopefully sometime next week. So I'd say we're probably about 2 weeks behind where we said we would be. We were trying to get it out by the end of last month. And if people see the staking interface, I think they'll agree that it's quite good. And I will promise everyone that the teams that we've got working on these things are going absolutely as hard as they possibly can. We had one member that had to take a couple of weeks break due to some personal stuff, and that set us back a little bit. But yeah, I'd say we're about 2 weeks behind on that, but it'll be coming soon. And I'm sure that everyone would agree that having rock solid contracts is going to be better than having it out a couple of weeks early.
Yeah, that's crucial and key. So yeah, good on you for taking that time. So awesome. Another question here. As someone who hasn't played games in a very long while, the closest reference for RPGs and battle mode is Final Fantasy. With storylines and turn-based fighting, is this close to the concept?
The concept that we are trying to create, Final Fantasy is a little bit different. At least most of the Final Fantasy games use a turn-based approach. Or at least that's, I assume, what they're looking at when it comes to the Final Fantasy side of things. The best way that I can describe this game is it's a 3D Pokemon game where when you go out into the world, you will see things maybe a little bit like Zelda Breath of the Wild. There's deposits that you can mine. There's plants that you can harvest. You have to use ingenuity to be able to get to different areas of the world. And then when you find the alluvials, hopefully you can find some alluvials. They're not going to appear exactly the way that people expect them to. We've hinted at it before by things, saying things like, weird shimmers and, mirror effects and stuff like that. And so it won't be like some games that people will have seen, but it's our take on the idea of, in a Pokemon game, when you're walking along, all of a sudden you just hear that music and all of a sudden you're in a battle. And so ours is similar to that, but we feel it's superior. Once you're in that battle, it's not a 1v1 battle the way that Pokemon is, and it's not a turn-based battle the way that Final Fantasy is. An auto battler, the two that are most popular in the world at the moment are Dota Auto Chess, or Dota Underlords, and Teamfight Tactics. And the way that these games work is they're effectively like a battle simulator. You place your pieces on the board, and in the case of the overworld, where the enemies are randomly assigned to you, they will be randomly assigned on the battle. What you're up against determines what you should be playing in the battle. If you're up against a lot of fire creatures, you probably don't want to go with your nature characters unless you've got some really, really strong nature characters. And so you have to think strategically about what you place down on the battlefields. And once you have that, the start of that fight, you no longer have control, and it's taken control of by an AI that runs the battle for you. Very similar to, some people might know a game called Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. So it's a bit like that, but with a more nuanced approach to the strategy involved in it. I'm not going to say that in the overworld, when you're up against a AI, that it's going to be the most difficult thing in the world, because in the end, the way that the overworld functions, as far as we're concerned, is like it's an incredibly pretty packet of cards. And instead of just buying your pack of cards, you're buying the experience of collecting them. Mm-hmm. And so it's not, it wouldn't be fair if it was like nearly impossible to collect anything. Imagine if you, for example, bought a packet of Pokemon cards and 8 out of the 10 cards just ran away from you. You know, that would be quite frustrating. So there is a little bit of a difficulty element to it, but it's not so difficult that we feel that it will turn a lot of people off. If they want to play the more difficult version of it, go into PvP, then you're up against human beings that have their own strategies, that have their own dastardly ways of thinking about the world, and you've got to beat them and try to work your way up the ranked arena to the best of your abilities. So it's not exactly like those games, and I don't think that you'll find anything in the world that is exactly like what we're making. But I would just suggest give it a shot. It's free to play at the start. If you like it, then we're glad to have you. If you don't, I'm sure that you'll be able to find something out there that fits your tastes. But yeah, give it a shot and see how you feel. We're fairly confident that we can get a decent number of those people.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, so with the gameplay within the blockchain as well, you guys have chosen Immutable X. Just give us a little talk about the benefits of that and how that implements with the NFTs and whatnot as well.
Yeah. So in most people, or I guess if someone doesn't know about the blockchain, that's effectively the ledger where all of the transactions are kept so that people can know who owns what. There's a lot of technology that goes onto the backside of that I personally love, but it's probably a little bit too deep for this conversation. But one of the problems with it is that there is a large amount of time required to write those transactions. On the Ethereum chain, we try to make it around about 15 seconds per block, but there is also an element of gas, which is obviously the fee associated with effectively bribing someone to put your transaction onto the ledger. And it can get quite high. It's been good the last few weeks mostly, but it can get prohibitively expensive. So instead, there are these different layer 2 solutions. IMX is what's called a zero knowledge proof rollup. So effectively, it allows us to give sub-second transaction times and full custody of your assets. It's backed by the Ethereum blockchain, which is best in the world for security. And by giving players the ability to mint their assets really fast and free of gas, it allows us to do stuff in the game that we just wouldn't be able to do otherwise. We have a lot of elements such as, you go and mine something, and then you might want to build it together and forge it into a weapon. You might want to forge it into some armor. You might get a gemstone that you need to infuse to build up your affinity for a particular strategy that you're trying to go ahead with. And if that takes 15 seconds or 20 seconds, or if the gas fees are really high and you don't want to pay it, maybe a minute or 2 minutes, it just ruins the experience. So by having it happen really quick, even though it's technically on this separate layer 2 solution, it's still secure. And there's a few other options out there. One of the biggest ones is Optimism, which my brother's network works on, which is absolutely perfect for synthetics. But
Right.
for us, there are a few issues with Optimism that don't make it ideal for a gaming situation,
Right.
such as there is a certain amount of time that you need to wait before you can extract your items off the chain. It might not be that that's the biggest thing in the world, but for us, we feel like IMX is a pretty perfect solution. The guys at Immutable also make the game Gods Unchained, and a part of the reason why they made IMX was literally for Gods Unchained. And we're a very different game to theirs, but not so different that the technology can't benefit us both. So that's the main reason. On the other side, the way that IMX works is they will charge a 1% transaction fee, but that allows us to allow people to have in the game free transactions where they can get free to play stuff. And one of the biggest things we found when we looked at some of the major players in the blockchain marketplace is that there is a significant amount of outlay. We're talking hundreds of dollars to get you to learn how to play the game. And if you spend $500 on something only to work out that you don't like it, that's a really bad experience.
Yeah.
So the way that we look at it is we have a free-to-play experience, and we feel like there's more chance that you'll end up liking it in the long run than at least a decent number of the blockchain games out there. We feel like we're pretty confident now that we'll have a game that will look the part and feel the part so that people want to keep coming back to it over and over again. So that's the benefits of IMX for us. And they plan to, from what I've heard, continue to build the system out. At the moment, it's not quite where they see it eventually, but then after that, they're planning on adding a whole bunch of features that could make our lives even easier. And who knows where we'll be in a year or 2 years, but I believe it'll be a good experience for everyone.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for breaking that down too for any of the more crypto focused people. So, yeah. Will we get a card game of Alluvial?
The way that we've approached Illuvium in general is, I know everyone talks about like a universe, and everyone wants to have their own universe, but we really feel that in crypto games, it's essential to have an ecosystem that works together. So one of the first things that we did was we made a storyline which we could take into the mainstream. So one of Kieran's first goals to me was make a story for the game that could be a script for a movie. I'm no Christopher Nolan, but I think we've come up with something that's quite interesting. The core contributors know the storyline of the game, and I've mostly gotten good feedback in terms of the level of detail that we've put into that story. So that means that we've, from the very start, been trying to get an ecosystem that will include not just additional games, such as a card game or different styles of games. I know everyone talks about raids and MMOs and all these sort of things. We definitely plan on doing all of that and more. We are fairly set on what we internally want to do as our second game. We don't plan on it being a card game, but if that was where the community wanted to go, in the end, from the very beginning, we've made this project as decentralized as we possibly could to put the power of the say of the game into the hands of the token holders. So if all of the token holders said, the first thing we want is a card game, whether it be a physical card game or something similar to Gods Unchained or Hearthstone, that's the direction that we would go. Although personally, I'm so into making this next game, once this one gets done, I think it'll be such a cool idea that I would hope that we would have enough funding to maybe be able to do both at the same time, because that's where I plan on putting my time if I can. But if not, we will make as good of a card game as we possibly can. And then there'll be plushies, there'll be possibly a graphic novel, there could be a movie, I actually spoke with a producer who's worked on indie films today. I actually spoke with him for 3 hours about how we would plan out the various parts of the cinematic and then leading that into a movie. And he may come on board the project. He may be, I think, 76 on our team. So we are very serious about making this a full ecosystem, because that's the beauty of the crypto space, is once you give people full custody of their assets, why not give them multi-uses?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have an alluvial and you use it to, you know, beat the crap out of someone else's alluvials in a PvP arena, that's fantastic. But why not use that alluvial for this other card game, or for this other insert game that I'm not going to leak here game? And that way people can use them. They can collect them in one place,
Mm-hmm.
use them in another. And then they can go into that new game, collect new things there, and find that when they go back into the first game, those features have been designed to go in there from the start. And that's what we're trying to build, is something where whatever you want to throw at us as far as the community goes, we will deliver. We have the team to do so. The only thing stopping us is the amount of time that it takes. And you've just got to get a quorum of people that pester me long enough, and then we'll make your game.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like it's Alluvium Studios coming soon. So sounds like you're willing to take on quite a bunch. So that's awesome. Okay, we've got someone that's been in the crowd here for a while. Looking to ask a question here. I've just added you. Doing your, if you've got a question.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, if you've got a question there, I'll give you an opportunity here to ask. If not,
I think everyone is shy to do the
everyone's
voice
shy
question.
here. As soon as you want to come up on stage, everyone gets stage fright, or maybe it's just technical. Anyways,
It should be a green button up the top of Discord.
yeah. Okay, well, let's. I see. Just one other one after the previous question here was: will we have a maximum storage of alluvials, or can we get an infinite number of those in our inventory?
You're only allowed one alluvial each. No. You can have. It's actually interesting. I was just having a conversation with one of our game designers and one of our programmers about the exact nature of the storage capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely with the alluvials, you can get as many of them as you want. You can't get an infinite number of them, because that would require an infinite amount of money, and the functions we got it built into the game make that prohibitively expensive. But you can get a decent amount of them, and we really do want people to understand that this is, of a sorts, a deck building game. A lot of people, when they think deck builders, they think of that card game style.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is a deck building game that is auto battling style. So it's just the mechanics of how the actual battles unfold that change. But your job in this game is to capture as many as you can. So we're not going to put any restraints on you as far as your alluvials. When it comes to all of the different materials that you can get, I'd say that's probably also infinite.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a few little details around that haven't been ironed out. But yeah, basically infinite.
Awesome. I see Mr. Kings here has had a question in both, raised their hand and in the chat there. So get you in here now. Go ahead.
Morning.
Yeah.
And if you guys had a set number on people that you were going to allow to play that first beta.
We don't have a set number yet. There will be a set number, and it will a little bit come down to how much we're able to stress the IMX network when we go live with it. So we don't have that yet. As far as the selection process, there will be a form that people need to fill out to explain what they think they'll be able to add as far as the QA process for us. we don't want it to be just people that are devs or just people that have, you know, $1 million to play when the game goes live or anything like that. We want to get a diverse group of people. But the main thing is that we want people who are passionate about the project, willing to play it enough, and confident enough to come back to us and tell us where we need to fix things. You know, I don't want people to, in the private one, say, oh my God, this is such an amazing game. And then it goes live and then they're like, yeah, but maybe this thing needs to be tweaked. We just want to get that out of the way early. As far as the exact numbers of people, it will probably scale up over time as we get more and more access to the IMX network, but it won't be a huge number to begin with. So you got to sharpen your pencils and make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's.
All right, thanks.
No problems.
All right, and Karar 12 there. Thanks.
Morning.
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 Yeah, so what is the game name? Because not gonna lie, but actually the game sounds super cool and super fun.
What's the game's name?
Game that you're talking about.
Yeah, the game's name is called Illuvium. So if you head on over to illuvium.io, you'll see our website, which has our cinematic gameplay trailer in it, so you can have a bit of an idea of what the game is like, or you can head on over to our Discord. You'll find all of the links through the website. But yeah, Alluvium is the story of crash landing to a alien planet that looks like it has been destroyed a long time in the past, and your job is to try and work out what happened, and at the same time collect a bunch of cool things and go and beat the crap out of your friends with all of your awesome collected things. And then because it's a blockchain game, if you want to sell it on to someone else after you've used it for a little bit of time or you've upgraded to something new, you can sell it on our Illuvidex. And that's one of the benefits of having full and true ownership of your own items in the game.
Nice, but how much does the game cost?
So it's free to download and it's free to play initially, but the creatures and items that you can collect to begin with, I can't say they have no cost, because someone can go and sell them on the market for $1 million, and if you want to buy it for $1 million, you could do that. So they may have some sort of a cost to it, but it'll probably be very, very low. That will get you into the game to start off with, so that you can learn the mechanics of it, work out whether or not you like it. And then after that, you will have to pay a fee when you travel. I mean, you can continue to play the free game for as long as you want. You could be in the system for 5 years and never pay a cent. But if you want to get access to the really cool Illuvials in the game and the more rare ones, then it will be very similar to buying a packet of cards. So something around vicinity of $5 to $10 to travel into a region. And then once you get into that region, you can go and collect all the things that are in there, forge some items together, catch some Alluvials, and what you catch will determine, I guess, the value of what it is that you got in there, which is very similar to like a packet of Pokemon cards, for example. And yeah, you just play with it. And the difference between us and a game like that is, if you play a digital Pokemon game, you don't really own your assets at all. And if you play the card game of Pokemon, you kind of have to keep your assets really, really carefully controlled, put them in sleeves, put them in boxes. And if they get water on them, then they can get damaged. And so they lose value. Whereas with crypto assets, you get all the benefits of it being digital. So it's never gonna get broken or anything like that. But you also get to have full ownership like you would with a normal card.
Oh, the game is actually super fun.
We hope so. You've got to make that decision for yourself when you come in and play it. But a couple of the people in our project are really good artists, and they've never played this style of game before, and they've come to me privately and said, this is going to be really fun to play. So we hope you enjoy it. And if you do, then you've got the benefit of, if you get good at the game, there is a decent amount of ILV rewards. Like we were saying, at the moment, we've committed to giving 1 million ILV over 3 years. And at the current US dollar value, that would be something around about $50 to $60 million in rewards that will be given out to players over that 3-year period. So pretty insane.
All right.
Great.
Awesome. All right. Thank you
The
very
day
much.
of the release.
It's not released yet. We're releasing later on in the year, so stay tuned. And if you go into our Discord, you'll be able to keep updated with everything that we've got going on, and you'll be able to see all the leaks as they happen.
Awesome.
I will stay in the server. Actually, it sounds super fun,
Sweet.
Awesome.
and I liked it.
All right. Thank you very
Awesome.
much, Kara.
Thanks for your question.
Thank you.
We've got.
I think, do we have any questions from the text?
Yeah, I was just looking in there here. We've got somebody was asking about the Illuvium Studio open to game suggestions, and if is ILV still the token. Yeah, and maybe it's good to just talk a little bit as we're with game suggestions and whatnot. I don't know if this ties into the DAO and in towards your like the Illuminati Council.
Yeah, it really does. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that I can't go into yet, but as far as we're concerned, we want all of the power of this game to lie in the hands of the token holders. So we've actually got a proposal that will be coming up to the council in the next probably 2 weeks, we hope, that we think will help us to achieve the goals that we're trying to achieve of having a decentralized game that people can have real control over. So at the moment, the way that it works is there is a set of council members that get elected on a regular cycle, and then anyone who is a token holder can put forward a proposal. That proposal will get voted on, and if it gets ratified, then we will make the adjustments needed to match that proposal. So we're going to put in place, or at least we're going to propose some things to that council that I can't go into yet, but we think better align us to allow the token holders to help make these decisions. So the long story short of it is that eventually we want token holders to be able to suggest games and then have that ratified in such a way that we really have a true democratic way of deciding what the next game is, for example. So I have my personal choice in game that I would really like to do. And once this current game is released, I would put a proposal forward and say, this is the next game that I would like to add. But it could be that everyone else disagrees with me and says, Aaron, you are a complete moron. That is a terrible idea for a game. We want to do a different game, like a platformer or Hello Kitty ripoff. I don't know, whatever it is that they want. And if that gets ratified, then us as the developer would be obligated to start doing that. And I'm open to anything. There is a certain level of expertise with the people that we've got of our core contributors that might make some games a lot easier to make than others. But like I'm a straight shooter with everyone in our community. If there's something that they want to make that we think that we can, I'm always willing to take on a challenge and get it done, or hire the expertise required to make sure that we can get it done. So I'm pretty confident that whatever the next title that we make is, will be what the community has overwhelmingly supported. But it'll also be the game that I choose, because they will realize that it's amazing.
Awesome. Okay.
I hope so. I hope so. And if it gets shut down, well then, so much for that theory.
Yeah, all good, all good. Well, let's let's have a couple more questions here. We got Rick Jones. I'll get you up here and probably if you're there, we are. Just unmute yourself and.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
There you go, Rick.
Yes. We can.
Okay. So one question that I have posted on the AMA. So, where will the save data be stored? Actually, that means how do you save in the game?
Oh, the save data. So our game doesn't actually rely on much of a save state from the perspective of the Unreal Engine, for example, because effectively all that you have in the game is an inventory filled with NFTs, and those NFTs are read off of your wallet. So the wallet is effectively the save state of the game. We don't have a linear narrative, so that there's no level 1, level 2, level 3, or anything like that. There's just, you can travel to a particular region and you can discover things that are in there, or you can go and battle another person. There are certain things that we will store on our server that aren't NFTs. So for example, your rank isn't going to be an NFT. There's a bunch of metadata associated with your account, such as each of your alluvials will be tracked by how much damage it's done, what's its mint number, things like that. And that gets stored as like a separate piece of metadata that's not part of the NFT. So there are some things that we need to save, but mostly all we're doing is just reading your wallet and allowing you to then play the game.
Then how about character location then?
So your character location, while you're in the zone, so actual physical location in the game is something that the game will store, but it's maybe not quite as important as what you might think, because once you travel into a region, it's not like you're progressing from region to region. You can go to whatever region you choose. So if you're in a region, the game will save that you're in that region. If you then log out or have a power outage or something like that, when you come back into the game, you'll be back in that region where you were, and you can continue on. But there's not a lot of, I guess, like game-breaking stuff that could happen if instead of being put into that place, you're put into another part of the region, like say, for example, the obelisk, like the starting zone. So it's not a large part of the game is the best way that I would describe it.
And about the save feature, would there be any save points, or is it an auto save feature?
So the server will save your state. So it'll be an auto save, I believe. There are still some small details that we haven't gone over in terms of like how often will the server save your position and stuff like that. But I don't imagine that it'll be a save feature that you will do yourself, because it doesn't really make any sense for us to do it that way. But again, we're still in the alpha stage, so a lot of these things can change.
Okay, so the last question then, how much to cost to even get an entry to the game? That means like, for example, you actually need some kind of money to get into it, right? So I imagine that how much the Illuvium will actually cost to get into the game.
$0. So yeah, exactly $0. You won't.
So you don't need to. So you don't need to acquire any Illuviums from OpenSea before that.
No, not before you go in. So initially, when we were going through, I remember there was a period. It could have been late January, where I was going through the game design. I was trying to work through, because a lot of these games have this issue where it's like you have to buy stuff before you can go into the game. And we had an auto battler, and it's like, how do you auto battle without having anything to battle with? And our solution to that was there are free characters to collect, and there are also the hunter, which is the player character, acts as one of the combat units in battle. So when you go into the world for the first time and you encounter one of these weaker free Illuvials, it's not particularly strong, and you should be confident that you can beat it just by yourself as a one-on-one battle. And then as the battles go on, they'll become a little bit more difficult. But by that stage, you will have acquired some of these other free-to-play characters. So you'll start to get a bit of a team, and you can collect the whole set of free-to-play characters without spending any money, obviously. And that would give you effectively an understanding of every class in the game, or at least all of the base classes. We have free Illuvials that are fighter, rogue, guardian, scion, and empath. We also have a version of them that is each of the base affinities. So you'll be able to get a water, nature, earth, fire, and air. And you'll also be able to fuse these together, upgrade them from stage 1, stage 2 to stage 3. So all of the basic mechanics of the game you'll be able to do. You'll be able to build out a team that you can fight with, no problems. And then when you decide that you want to go and pay some money into the game, you might pay your travel fee and purchase a couple of shards, go out into the world, use your free-to-play team to go and smack out these high-level creatures and then collect them, and that will allow you to build up your team gradually. So it should be a really smooth on-ramp. And yeah, we very much dislike this idea of spending, say, $300 to $500 to get into the game. I can appreciate that you could just go and sell them if you didn't like it, but it just feels to me like an extra barrier that we'd be putting in front of customers, where we'd rather them just have a really good experience, and then when they choose, they can decide if they want to put some money into it. And we've found already that there's people that are definitely willing to spend on these collectibles. I had someone, I don't even own it, but I had someone offer me $88,000 for a signed NFT of my Whamfur emote, which was, I'm not a good artist, and I attempted to draw one of our characters and someone screenshotted it, and they repeatedly teased me on it. So that we do have people in our community that are willing to spend money. So I think if you get into the game, you'll be pretty confident that if you work hard, you'll be able to give some of the stuff back to the marketplace and make some money that way. But in the end, it comes down to the economics of the game. It could be that people say that they don't want to spend money on it. It could be that it goes absolutely crazy. That's something that we don't know. All we can control is making a good game that has an easy on-ramp for new players.
Awesome.
Okay, then thank you very much.
All right.
No
Thanks.
problems. Thank you.
All right, we'll just get to a couple more questions here, and then yeah, we've been getting quite a lot of information here, so this is good. But Masood,
Hi, can you hear me?
you bet.
All right, awesome. I was curious about how you guys attracted so many people on your Discord. You've got like over 20,000 people. Where have you been marketing? Where have you been connecting people with? Yeah.
So I'm not a large part of the marketing team. I do dabble in it from time to time as part of my many hats. But I would say the majority of our Discord comes from the idea that people haven't seen a game like this, and they're excited about the potential. We're excited about the potential. The main marketing campaigns that we have done have mainly involved us matching up with some other communities. So for example, one of the first things we did, I'm lucky enough, Kieran and I are the brothers of Kane, who is the founder of Synthetics, which is quite a big crypto token. And so we initially marketed to them and said we would give them an airdrop and give them a chance to win a rare NFT. And we got a few from that, and then we've done these cosplay series over time, which I believe Roger, one of our artists, our lead concept artist, has been drawing, and they're absolutely stunning. and then they get turned into a hollow NFT. Our art director is a crazy genius, and he's come up with an amazing way to show real 4D hollows, and it just looks really good. And when you compare it to other NFTs out there, I think people just see maybe this is going to be the one that is a collectible down the road, and maybe not the one that's a stick figure or a cartoon cat or something like that. So that's been the main place that we have built up. We're starting to branch out now into the YouTube space. We have a couple of YouTube partnerships that are coming up fairly soon that are bringing in some people. And once we get really rolling with it, we expect to hit 50K in our Discord, and then who knows? I mean, after that, really the sky's the limit.
Yeah, awesome.
And then there's not last question, I guess. I was curious about where you guys skew your strength in your team. Like, is it more heavily devoted to devs, or is it most heavily devoted to analytics, or just curious how the team looks like and stuff like that?
We've tried at every stage to have a balanced team where we're filling roles as we require them. And the one rule that we have when hiring someone is they must be passionate. They must be what we consider to be hardcore, as in we give them decent rewards for what they do, and because they're passionate in the project, in return they tend to go above and beyond. We don't require anyone to work like crazy, like 7-day weeks or anything like that. If people need time off, then they can. But that's been the main goal of our project, is to get smart people that are passionate and just a little bit insane. And I think we've done that really well. As far as where we actually skew, I would say that we're quite stacked towards the art team at the moment. We have a couple of really big devs that are starting in a couple of weeks, I believe. We have one guy who's coming from being a lead on Batman Arkham Asylum, and we have another guy coming from a game called Squad. And so we're getting more on the dev side each and every week. We have some of the key roles with some absolutely brilliant people in them, so I'm quite confident in it. But we probably need to add a few more devs than what we do need the art team at the moment. But it's going to be interesting because over time, I think it'll skew back. The way that I designed the game to function in terms of how we were going to build out the code, it's funny because we were very much against sort of procedural art, because we felt like it's never going to have quite that same iconic feel. Like there's no procedural Pokemon, for example. They are what they are, and people know what they are. They can see it. Whereas with procedural art, it's a lot easier to do, but and for some people they really like it. But for us, we're just like, we want to go that extra distance and make it a lot trickier. But with the dev side, I think I've been reasonably clever in setting up the way that we build out the auto battler so that it is a lot more programmatic and procedural. We use a fully data-driven system. So once we get the base functions built into the game, getting new characters built in will be incredibly easy. And in fact, one of the original goals was we want the community to be able to program in their own characters down the road. We want them to be able to vote on that. Now, the downside of that is we need to make sure that the art is iconic in quality always. And so that may mean that for a long time, our team needs to be in charge of doing that art process. But in terms of designing what your character does, as in, does it launch a big bomb that does energy damage, and does it ignore anyone that's of a fire type, and does it then move to the furthest character at the back? All of that with most games tends to take a lot of time, once we built in the base functions of this game, we will be able to get that side of it done less than a day. It could be something where you can get that side of it done in hours, so at the moment we're behind on the dev side because we're building in all these incredibly complicated things, but at some point it'll actually tip back in favor of us probably needing more artists to be able to keep up with the pace.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'll take my leave. If you want to just drop any alpha leaks, it's up to you.
No alpha leaks from me, but thank you for the question.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, guys. Just one other thing I'd seen in the text channel there, they were talking about what mechanics do you think will be put in place to avoid the fact of certain games are unplayable during bull runs with ETH going to 20k and all the Illuvial and shards that aren't viable for most. I think that's just all solved through Immutable X, as we've kind of discussed earlier on here. So
I think it's slightly different because I think what they're trying to say is if ETH goes to 10k, then there is a chance that the value of alluvials will rise.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that they should know is that the functions in the game we're pegging to US dollars.
Right.
So it's not going to be the sort of game where we built the token with the goal of it rising over time. In fact, our tokenomics has built in that the revenues in ETH from the game actually get used to purchase more ILV, and that gets distributed back out to the token holders. So there's this influx of ETH depending on how many people play the game, and that will go to be purchasing the token, which will make it rise. And so it could be that there's a lot of people that bought an alluvial for, say, $500 off of the market, and now it's worth $10,000, and they're like, why should I settle for anything less than that?
Mm-hmm.
And that means that some other guy who's just starting in the game may find it a bit difficult because now they've got to pay $10,000 for something that someone else spent $500 on. The idea is that it will be more difficult to go and capture them yourself because of the functions that we've got built in that make the difficulty and the rarity go up. So It will probably cost more. But what we've also built into the game is the idea that if you are the lucky person who uses the weakest shard, which costs the least amount of money, you could still get a holo of insert most rare alluvial in the game. I won't leak what it is, but you could do that. It's incredibly unlikely, but if you want to go and play and play the lottery effectively, you could get there. So we don't want to let that dream die that there's just literally no way to do it. But over time, there is a certain part of this where if the game does become really successful, we are very well aware that there's not much we can do about the new people coming into the game having a trickier time getting the Gen 1 alluvials for a good price. Just like if you go onto eBay right now and you want to buy one of those rare Charizards or shadowless cards, they're going to set you back a lot of money. And if you were a kid in the late 90s, you probably could have got that card for $10 out of a pack. So there's just a reality that the rarest ones will always tend towards being the most expensive one, and the earlier sets are going to be the rarer ones. But we will release newer sets all the time. So there is the ability for players to get in and get the new ones, which won't have that same level of cost associated with them. And then over time, those ones may become valuable and rise in price. And you will have the ability to get them. So for example, we do plan, this is probably the closest thing that I've got to a leak, and it still needs to be approved by the council through the player base. When we go on to set 2, it could be that there's alluvials that were in the previous set, but they have a difference to them. They could be, for example, this is not what we're planning, but there could be like a rainbow of the atlas or something like that, or there could be like a mega atlas or something like that. So you'll still be able to collect those iconic ones and have them and then play them in the Auto Battler and in the other games that we do. But getting a Gen 1 holo insert rarest alluvial here is going to be something that if you don't own it, you can't get it anywhere else besides buying it off of that marketplace. And I imagine that the 2 people that have it, or 1 person, or I don't know, maybe even 0, we've got some rare things out there. They're not going to give them up cheaply.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think this is a good spot to wrap up here. We've covered a ton of stuff with this, and it's been amazing to see such an active audience here as well, and so many people here. But no, I want to thank you so much for all your time here with this, and I know it's late for you right now, so I'm sure the both communities here really appreciate all of this. So. Any last socials or anything here that you want to hand out? I'm sure everybody here is a part of your Discord or a part of ours, but for those that want to trying to find you, website, socials, all that, if you want to go ahead.
So thanks, Tango, for having me on, and thanks to everyone who's been asking questions and just listening in general. It really does mean a lot to us to know that there's people that actually care about this stuff. If we didn't have the community, we wouldn't put in the same level of passion as what we do now. The best place for us to go to is our website to start off with. That will give you a link to everything else that flows through. It's illuvium.io, so ILLUVIUM.io. And from there, you'll be able to find our Discord, all the new features that we've been building onto the website, our Telegram. You'll catch me on Telegram. I wish I could say that I've been there a lot recently, but I've been so busy with the game. I think I had something like 10 hours worth of meetings before this AMA today, so it's been tough. But I'll try to be as social with the community as I possibly can. And if you ask me questions, I try my best to answer it. Unless you say something about a leak, in which case I probably will ignore you.
Awesome. Okay, well, so Alluvium.io, and that's where you can find all the socials there, take you to the direct links to that, to everything that you guys have to offer. And this has been amazing. So this has also been recorded, and I will be uploading this to YouTube, so you can find that on the Sushi Swap official YouTube channel. This will be under the AMA section, so it should be up here later today. And you can follow me on Twitter at 0xtangle, keeping posted on any AMAs that are up and coming from the Sushi Swap community. And I'm taking some screenshots during the show here of all the audience. I'm handing out POPs, so they're proof of attendance protocol badges, and they are crypto badges essentially that get minted on the XDAI chain, which are kind of like a layer 2 as well, for that connect with the Ethereum chain. So you get a little participation badge for showing up. So I'll be handing those out as well. And thank you all so much for showing up. It's been amazing to have such a large audience and participation from everyone. So again, thank you so much, Aaron, for showing up, and all the best and good luck with Alluvium. It sounds like you've got a lot on the go. So thank you again.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.